I've put off playing the original Half-Life for way too long, but finally decided to now that Half-Life 2 is 20 years old and everyone keeps talking about it. My experience was... like, some parts were fun, but the movement was slippery, and of course there's Zen, where you have to do parkour, and I was losing my mind. The game was also really brutal at times, although, to be fair, I haven't been playing much FPS games since, but it was really annoying. I did eventually get over what part I was stuck on, but I ended up playing with a video on in the background so I wouldn't go insane. Anyways, skill issue, innit? I know that for the time it was great, but nowadays it really does feel dated. Can't really say I was invested in the story or what little of it I did get. Like, I'm sure there was more to discover if I talked to every single person. At the end of the game, I was interested. The G-Man was really freaky and I was confused. Like, what do you mean I got the job? Job for what? I had a few questions that I hoped would be answered in.
Rise and shine, Mr. Freeman. Rise and shine.
The beginning of this game absolutely stunned me, not only because of the graphical improvement, but the G-Man's speech as well. It's quite difficult to get across just how the beginning of this game made me feel. Speaking to the people on the train, leaving it, and then seeing the Combine for the first time, trying to understand what's even going on by listening to Dr. Breen over the speakers, there was a lot to take in. I really liked how much more story and things going on there were in this game. It really had this feeling. It felt like there was properly a world around me in this game. This game really captured me and I was invested in the characters and the world. The gameplay was great and didn't feel slippery, and they didn't expect you to do parkour this time, so that was great. The gravity gun feels like something that could have been in a game today, and I loved hurling things at enemies, which added a layer of strategy to everything. Do I use my shotgun, which is low on ammo, or do I throw an explosive barrel at them? The split-second decisions like that really made every encounter feel different from the rest, especially with the variety of places it could happen in. And I really liked the music too. It wouldn't play often, and after playing once, it just fade out, but it really makes the game feel like intense, but not in the way of kind of like in Call of Duty, how you've got the music going on, and you're running through this battlefield and there's explosions going off everywhere, and it's made to make you feel like you're like an action hero or something. When the music would play in this, it's like, I knew what I was doing anyway, but it just made me feel like I knew what I was doing even more. It really made me feel like I was Gordon Freeman. This game holds up so well and plays and feels like a modern game as well. Its innovations haven't been done to death to the point where it feels like you really are playing the game that started it all, if that makes sense. Like, you're seeing all these little things that this game like pioneered, and it feels a bit watered down, but you can also respect that this was where it all started. It doesn't feel like that at all. It feels really unique, even though it's 20 years old. I also had an easy time with the game mostly. Like, still was a few parts where I struggled for a bit, but it didn't feel like I was fighting the game to get past everything. Although that could just be now that I'm warmed up from Half-Life, or maybe the game just is easier, I don't know. Now, big thing about this game, Dr. Breen, the main villain. Throughout the whole thing, I thought, man, this guy is an ass. Then that cutscene when you're in his room, and I was like, oh my god. During the game, he calls the Combine the Universal Union. So I was like, oh, so Combine must be like derogatory or something. Then when you find him and he switches over to Combine, I went from thinking, man, this guy is such a sad bootlicker, to he's a massive shit eater. I'm not so sure this is what is actually happening and he's not just sucking up to them to get whatever it is he wants. Because apparently the term Universal Union was put in the script and then forgotten about. But I still thought it was really cool. And that's what I'd like to believe anyway, because it just makes him much more of a compelling villain. Anyways, interesting ending and sets up. Can't really say I have much thoughts on episode 1 other than more awesome story and, shooting. It was good. It did feel like going from one thing to another, but they can't just leave the Citadel, can they, when it's literally about to explode. And I do admire this game's commitment to putting like every step of the journey in, and it still manages to make it feel fun as well. Like, there is no minute in this game where I felt, oh well, this is pointless. They could just put a loading screen here and take us back to base, or do this or something. There's always some sort of progress towards the main plot being made, even if, it's separated by like half an hour of shooting thing. The second episode, however, I enjoyed a lot more because we've moved on from the Citadel now. We've got this data thing. Now we've just got to decode it. And then obviously Alex was injured and the G-Man appears again, and obviously more story. I was really invested and I wanted to see where it went and if it ended on a cliffhanger. And it did. My jaw was just wide open when I saw Eli die. And then as the credits started, my jaw stayed open, but my whole body was just enveloped by this intense feeling of disappointment, because, now, what is there now? I have been spoiled for Half-Life Alyx, and I know something happens in the end of that game, which kind of continues Half-Life 2 Episode 2, but I do not have a VR, and if I did have a VR, I probably wouldn't play it anyway, because it's it looks way too crazy. I don't think I can even handle it. But now I'm in the waiting for Half-Life 3 club with everyone else. I don't think it's going to be fun. Anyways, I really enjoyed playing playing through the Half-Life games. Even though it didn't get off to the greatest start, I do feel like playing Half-Life 1 first did kind of increase my appreciation for Half-Life 2. I think I could have done without it though, and had basically the same experience. Playing Half-Life has really made me want to replay the Portal games too, which is, you know, never a bad thing because they're amazing.